Looking forward to sharing with you again, and grateful for the Lord's mercies in helping me to share these things with you. We are moving now into what is chapter 23 in the studies called What the Bible Teaches About Mercy. And inevitably, we're going to bump into the prayer of mercy. Whether you realize it or not, what the Lord is really looking for in those who are intimate with Him, those who really know Jesus, God is looking for intercessors. And in one way of describing these studies, their purpose is to turn us into true intercessors for the sake of others. And before this lesson is out, we will look at the lives of some of the great intercessors in the Bible, and you'll see that what I'm saying is true. But I want to give a little background about the prayer of mercy, because as a young person growing up in the church, I knew that I was supposed to love people. That's Christianity, right? But I found in my own heart and life, I did not like certain people. I just didn't like them. I thought, well, I can tolerate them, but don't ask me to love them. And I felt that I was justified in feeling that way. Obviously, that's wrong. And when I finally kind of woke up to my need, as I was expressing in the previous session, I realized that I had never been taught how to love people. Just the command, love them. But how do I do that? I don't have feelings for them. Some people I do, find it easy to love them, but others I don't. And why should I bother with them? And if I don't love people, what is the solution? How will I get around that? What will I do? And the answer came in the form of learning to pray. And I found out, as I hope you will find out, that the prayer of mercy is the secret of learning to love people. And if you get that prayer down into you so that it becomes habitual and it's part of you, it's not just a religious form, you will discover that you have a tremendous capacity to love people that you never thought you could before. The prayer of mercy is the secret of learning how to love others. There are many scriptures that we could use. I hope to cover a little bit of Daniel chapter 9, one of the great intercessory prayers in all of the Bible. And we will see how Daniel uses the mercy of the Lord as the means by which he can confidently believe God for the sake of others. And we will also briefly look at the Lord's Prayer. And one of the great lines in the Lord's Prayer is, "Forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who have trespassed against me." That's a dynamic that I had very little knowledge of, but now I'm learning it. And there are many examples that I can give. I'm trusting the Lord to guide that we will know exactly how to proceed. I want to say that the simple prayer that the Lord gave to the writer of the studies on mercy, Rex Andrews, I want to state it and say what it is just from the outset, and then we'll explore these things a little bit more. The prayer itself is an absolutely selfless prayer. This is crucial. The prayer itself is, "Father, please flood so-and-so," whoever it is, that person, you name them, "please flood them with your fulfilling mercies, meeting every need that they have as you see it. At first, in praying this, it just sounded to me like, almost like a prayer wheel. Oh, I have to flood them with fulfilling mercies. But the Lord opened to me the meaning of it is much deeper. And as I said, it's very selfless. I'll say it again, and then I want you to answer the question, where am I in this prayer? Here it is again. Father, please flood this person, whoever it is, please flood them with your fulfilling mercies, meeting every need that they have as you see it. Where am I? This calls to mind an incident that happened early in my ministry. A woman in our congregation came to me and said, I really need help because my brother, my natural brother, he's so off and I can hardly be around him. I get very upset at him and I don't know what to do about it. I know I'm supposed to love him. And I explained this prayer of mercy to this lady and I said, now you ready? We're going to pray for him. You lead us in prayer for your brother. She started out okay. She said, Lord, I want you to show your mercies to my brother, but you know I can't stand him, so I need help. Will you please help me to love my brother? Please give me patience with him. And I had to interrupt her. I said, I won't use her name, but I called her by name, and I said, you're not praying the prayer of mercy. You've gone back to praying for yourself. She said, well, I need to love him. I've got to ask for love. I said, no, I want you to pray pure mercy for your brother. Nothing about you. Please start over and pray again. So she started out pretty well. Oh, God, bless my brother and come to him, but I really need you to help me. If you don't give me love for him, nothing will change. I had to interrupt her a second time. I said, no, that's not it. You're still praying for yourself. Can you get a sight of what it is to pray for your brother for his good, his need, his need of mercy, and leave yourself out of it? And look at it from the viewpoint of God. This man needs God's fulfilling mercies in his life, and he doesn't need just a trickle, an eyedropper full of mercy. He needs a flood of mercy. And then, of course, I always have to add, and I think I added to her, and think of the flood of mercy that God has had on you. Oh, I don't know if it went in or not. I still don't know if that lady really prayed from the heart, this prayer of mercy. But you understand where I'm going with this. When God is training you to love someone, He doesn't expect you to white knuckle it. He doesn't expect you to sort of grimace and screw up your spiritual courage and say, well, I'm going to pray for that person no matter what. No, no, no. No, 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 no. He's not asking you to do that. He's asking you to join with Him in His revealed will to have mercy, loving kindness, compassion, and grace on everyone that He sees without exception. And to do it in such a manner that the word flood has a meaning, and the word fulfilling has a deep meaning to you. You are really wanting the will of God to be done to that person. And if you're humble enough and broken enough and you think about your own need, you are really saying to the Lord, do to that person the same mercy that you've done to me. Don't hold back, Lord. Don't hold back. Bless tremendously. Give grace in abundant measure. Do more for that person than you've done for me. I marvel, I'll come now to Daniel 9, how he prayed for people who were in deep need, who had turned their backs on the Lord, and he, Daniel, had done the right thing in Babylon, made the right choices, and yet prays from the standpoint of one who had received the mercy of God and wants to see it given to the people he's praying for, namely Israel, back in the land, but lacking what they need. The background of this, of course, is Daniel had read the prophecy of Jeremiah, that Israel would be in bondage to a foreign nation, namely Babylon, for about 70 years, and then God would restore them. And when he got a hold of that, he was able to pray like a real intercessor, which is what God is after in your life and mine. The whole subject of God's revealed will of mercy is to change you from a taker into a giver. From a person who says, well, I can tolerate anybody, but I don't want anybody too close, and I'm not going to fight for people that irritate me. It changes you from that into a person who's actually advocating before God for the life and soul and blessing of the person you're praying for. That's what God is after. So listen to these words of Daniel chapter 9. And this is, I'll start with verse 4. I won't read all the chapter. This is what he said. I prayed unto the Lord my God and made my confession and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping the covenant and mercy, there the word is chesed, chesed, the eager, ardent desire of God to do good, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled even by departing from your precepts and from your judgments. Neither have we hearkened unto your servants the prophets, which spoke in your name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongs to you, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day. To the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass, that they have trespassed against thee. O Lord, to us belongs confusion of face, to our kings and to our princes and to our fathers, because we have sinned against you. But to the Lord our God belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him, neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our God to walk in his laws which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. Can I transfer this over to an individual that maybe you're struggling with? Do you know how to talk to God about their need? Are you able to say, Father, I see what they've done. I see their departing from the Lord. I see their sin even. I'm aware of it. Maybe they've even sinned against me. And I'm repenting as though I myself have been guilty of this. That I'm including myself in it like Daniel did. Because I've been in that state. I know what it's like. I remember when I was rebellious against you, but I see something else. I see your will. I see your desire over that person. I see your longing to have them come into fellowship with you and be free of the debt of their sins. I beg you, Father, now will you pour out on them a flood of fulfilling mercies. Do you know what that's like? Have you ever done that? I've had to face it, and I've had to do it with people that I naturally wouldn't love, and become an advocate for them, pleading for you to have mercy on them. Leave me out of it. My desire is just your desire. I fellowship with you in your desire to come to that person and make them all that they were born to be and all they were born again to be if they're believers. Father, I'm contending on their behalf. And to stand in that place and not to just let it be a fleeting prayer, an emotion, but an absolute position you take before God, that you are insisting that they be blessed regardless of what they have done. I'm going to read just a little bit more of Daniel's prayer, and then we're going to look into the lives of some others that have been intercessors. Listen to these words, verse 17, Daniel 9. Now therefore, O our God, hear the prayer of your servant and his supplications, and cause your face to shine upon thy sanctuary that is desolate for the Lord's sake. O my God, incline your ear and hear. Open your eyes and behold our desolations, and the city which is called by thy name. For we do not present our supplications before you for our righteousnesses, but for thy great mercies. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, hearken and do. Defer not for thine own sake, O my God, for the city and for the people that are called by your name. Talk about a sight that Daniel had of the will of God toward the backslidden nation of Israel. Can you think of anybody else in the Bible that prayed that way? Oh, yes. The Lord took me to each one of these to see how they embraced the prayer of mercy as the will of God toward other people. That wonderful, ardent, eager desire of God to meet people's needs. Abraham. If anybody had a right to be a little irritated with his nephew, it was Abraham. But do I need to remind you how he prayed for Lot? Poured out his soul, Lord, are you going to destroy the righteous with the wicked? What about my nephew? That's what's in the background. If you could find 50 righteous, will you withhold your judgment? 40 righteous, 30 righteous, 20 righteous. He keeps pleading. And of course, this is what God's heart is. He was wanting Abraham to express his own desire. And finally, Abraham stopped at 10. Well, the Lord couldn't even find 10. But think of what he did for his nephew Lot that had nothing to do with Abraham. He could have easily said, Lord, let him suffer. After all, look what he did to me when I offered him the choice of where to settle in the land. He took the best part. And I humbled myself and became a Bedouin in the land of Israel while he settled in the most lush and beautiful part of the land. Abraham had a sight of how God viewed others. What about Moses? What a supreme example of mercy and mercy prayer and intercession was Moses, the lawgiver, but who had had a revelation of God, as we saw in Exodus 34, of what God was actually like. And when the children of Israel turned their back on the Lord, right in the visible presence of the glory of God on Mount Sinai, and turned to evil, and Aaron turned to evil and made a golden calf at the request of the people. And they worshiped the calf and said, "This is the one that brought us out of Israel." Moses, yes, demanded righteousness. Those of you who have sinned, you've got to be punished. And he called for anyone that stood on the Lord's side to come and stand with him. And the Levites did. And they had to judge those who were in evil. But then Moses went back up into the mountain. And what did he do? He begged for God's mercy on those people. He said, in actual words, if you can't forgive them, blot my name out of the book. I think I mentioned this earlier, but now it comes down to this prayer of mercy. Have you ever in your life prayed for somebody with this sense in mind? Lord, if you can't get them out of their sin and into heaven, I don't want to be there without them. Not that we can do that, not that God would grant that prayer, but it is fulfilled in Jesus' own intercession on the cross. Moses was expressing what's in God's heart. Let me take the penalty of their sin. God, view me as an advocate, a lawyer, an intercessor on behalf of this person who doesn't deserve your mercy any more than I do. Will you please forgive? Will you cover their sin? Will you blot out their transgression? I don't want to give personal examples that are still issues in my life, but I know what it is to pray this way. I know what it is to get into a passion that God will bring that person out of their rebellion, unbelief, unthankfulness, unwillingness to do the mercy of God to others, and plead for them and take what they are in as though it were my own fault and plead for mercy in the light of Calvary. Is not this what Paul did for the Jewish people, much as Daniel prayed? Did not Paul say in Romans that he had continual sorrow and heaviness in his heart for his kinsmen according to the flesh? And he said, I could wish that I were even cut off if I knew it would bring them in to the fold. He gave his life for that. Did not Jesus give his life for that? I hope that you will take the time to read Mercy Study 23 in detail. I'm trying to give the atmosphere of it, this understanding of the prayer of mercy. There will be one more session on it, the next session, because this is a subject that is very vast. But I wanted to read the great key to the Bible. This is on page 6 from there. The great key to the Bible is the knowledge of God's will in Christ Jesus. And the wisdom to use that key is in the understanding of mercy. And repeat, it is impossible to understand the Bible meaning of the word love apart from what the Bible teaches about mercy. I read that because in the prayer of Jesus, and haven't we asked him to teach us to pray? In that prayer, Father, forgive them as you have forgiven me. The dynamic of mercy in operation, loving kindness in operation. Forgive them, cover them, treat them with kindness like you did to me. You won't get a grip of faith unless you understand that the will of God is mercy. When you understand that, you get a grip of faith and it comes to you, you will answer. You will do what you've promised. You will hear my prayer. You won't turn away your ear from my cry for them, not just for me. Fulfillment in floods for that person. I've learned to love the word fulfilling and fulfillment. That which brings satisfaction to the heart of God. Is it not all that I'm talking about represented by the extreme prayer of mercy that were among Jesus' last words on the cross? You know what they are, don't they? As he was dying for me and for you, he uttered these words, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I believe the world would come to an end right then if he hadn't prayed that way. Hi, I'm Doug Dietert, and I'm holding in my hand the book on which all of my lessons on mercy were based. It's called What the Bible Teaches About Mercy. And I'd love for you to have a copy if you'd like one. You can write to me at doug@evergreencenterinc.org, and we'll arrange for you to get a copy. That's doug@evergreencenterinc.org.